you guys doing? My name is Josie Carr and welcome to Planet1wp. Today, what shall we do? I was trying to figure out what to do today. I've been doing a lot of tutorials. I want to do some other kind of different things, but New York is saying we're not doing anything but snowing today. So I'm cool with that. I mean, I like the snow. It looks very pretty. I'm all for that. Let me just adjust my microphone a little bit here. And it feels very bright for me in here, so I'm just going to dim the light a little bit. Cool. So today I figured let's do something very light. You know, I put together a couple of beats there on this track just so it'll help us be able to play around with what we want to play around with today. So I figured today we'll try, we'll work on sidechaining, right? So sidechaining is like a big thing for a lot of people when they start to work in music, but sidechaining is not only used for mixing, so certain frequencies can get along with each other, but it's also used creatively. So we'll look at both of those ways to use them, and maybe we won't. No, we will, but we'll try to keep it light. Okay, we'll do it in Ableton first, and then we'll do it in Maschine, and then we'll go outside and probably play in the snow. So let's do it. This is a little song I put together, or not a song, but a little clip or something just to help us with the tutorial. I'm going to play a little bit of it, and I'll let you guys hear the beginning. And I want you guys just to pay attention to the white noise at the very beginning of it. Cool, so that's something like a small little clip I put together, and I'm going to open up the white noise track for you guys can see what's happening and how we can set that up. So I'll go here at the bottom, and I usually like to keep my tracks color coordinated, super organized. It just helps, you know, when you have a lot of tracks in a song, it's kind of helpful to do that. Yeah, so cool. So here's a white noise that I have. You can make your own white noise effects like, you know, sweeps and risers and anything like that. It's pretty easy to do. Maybe I'll do a video about that. But I just use the analog, and I use the noise modulator in that. And I added a little bit of filter and things like that. I made my own, you know. And then I added an auto filter to it, which I then use automation. If you go on here, you guys can see if I click on there and I go to auto filter, and I just automated the frequency so it would open up and then it would drop. And that's why when you hear it coming around here, and I'll play it for you guys. It's opening up. You guys can see that. And that was all done with white noise from the analog synthesizer. So you guys can do that on your own, but I might do a video on that. I'm not sure. I think I will. Cool. So let's do that. So if you guys can hear this, I'll solo this track and you guys can see what's happening here. You hear that pulsating effect that's happening there? Okay. The reason why that's happening is because I'm using a kick to trigger the compressor so it can have that pulsating effect. And the way that I've done that is I just went into my audio effects here. I grabbed the regular compressor that's here. I dropped it right onto the track. Okay. And then the sidechain, I turned it on here, right? And before I can assign an input into the sidechain, right? So the way that it works is we need a compressor. Obviously, a compressor is going to you know, take our levels and kind of keep them balanced. Anything that's too low and that's too high is kind of keep them proportional to each other. So we kind of hear everything sound kind of balanced throughout. Right, so that is one way to use a compressor. A second way is to use a compressor, and some compressors have sidechain inputs. Instead of using whatever's on that track to compress, it will use another signal to compress whatever is on that track, and that is called sidechaining. Right, so for this example, we are going to use a kick as the signal that's coming into the sidechain to give it that quarter note pulsating effect, right? So obviously before I jumped the gun, I added the compressor for you guys. But what we should do first is actually add a track that will have a kick playing every quarter note, right? So what I've done here is I've created a track, a regular audio track, and I'll zoom it. And you guys can see that I just added a quarter note kick. It's playing every quarter note, first beat, second beat, third beat, fourth beat. And what I did with that was I just looped it so it can play throughout the whole track. See that? From the beginning to the end, just dragged it and pulled it. Pretty much like that, and just pulled it to the end. And the actual, and you know, once you get a good sidechain, why don't you just save it? You can just drag it right onto your user. Oops, sorry. That's not the way you want to drag it, but it will go here. And you can just drag it onto there and start to create your own library. So every time you want to use that sidechain, you can just grab it, throw it onto a track, you know, empty part of your track, and you'll always have it there to use. You see that? I can use it on any project I want to because I've saved it. So I would advise, you know, it's a good way to start building your library. Okay, so I'm going to pull it. You see, same deal. I already have it, so I'm not going to do that, and I'm probably going to erase it from my library as well. My library is a little bit messy, but that's because I've been giving a lot of, I'm teaching the course at NYU right now, so my computer is going through a lot. But in any case, yeah, the first thing you want to do is just add a sidechain compressor, make sure it plays throughout the whole track. And then the second thing you want to do on that track is we don't want to hear that sidechain signal. We just want to use it to trigger that compressor, right? So what we want to do with the output of that track is send the output of it. Make sure you turn on your inputs and outputs so you can see them here. Okay, we don't need to see the sends right now, so I'm just going to turn them off for us. And we're looking at the sidechain kick track here. You can see that the output of it, I am sending it to sends only, okay, which will be going to the sends. I'm not using anything, so we're not going to hear it. I can also send it to external outs if I wanted to and send it to an output that I'm not using. But the best thing is just send it to sends out. You're not sends only. You're not going to hear it. Okay, so there you go. And now I'm going to unsolo this track here just so you guys can see what's going on. See that? And I also turned it off, but I'm going to tell you before you turn, in your case, leave it on. I'm going to show you later on how you can turn it off. But for now, leave it on. Okay? And you're not going to hear it. Keep that in mind. So cool. I've set up my sidechain, and now I want to, remember, make that white noise pulsate. Give it that pulsating effect that we're hearing right throughout as well. And I'll play a little bit again just so it could remind us of what it was. See that pulsating? It's pulsating every quarter note. Okay. The next thing we want to do is go to the audio effects right here. Grab the compressor, drop it right onto the track. Okay, I've already done it, so I have it. You can use the regular compressor or you can use the glue compressor, whichever compressor has, both of them have sidechain, okay? I'm going to tell you something. When you first drag it, right? I'll show you the difference. When you first drag it on here, you won't see the sidechain compressor. You won't see the sidechain option. So you're like, what the hell is Josie talking about, right? Well, if you click right here on this arrow, it'll open up the sidechain panel and you'll be able to then add the signal for it, okay? And the same thing with the compressor. I'm going to get rid of this one because I already have it, okay? The glue compressor is it's easier. It sounds, for me, it sounds better when you're compressing. It's not as harsh as the regular compressor. I think mainly because it's probably used more for, I guess, mastering, but I just like it better. I would A and B it if I were you. If you were looking for something really aggressive, then use the regular compressor, but trust your ears. I mean, I'm giving you information, but it's up to you to try it and see what works best for you, right? Cool, so here we are, the sidechain. We have to turn it on, Okay, and then we have to tell it where again we're getting the signal from, right? Well, we set up a track, didn't we? And that track we called SC kick, right? So we select that as the input into that sidechain. Okay, and you guys can see that was the name of the track. You see SC. So I've set it up. Okay, and why don't I put these two tracks together so it'll be easier for us to see it, and I don't have to keep dragging up and down and driving you guys crazy on that end. I'll just put it closer to each other. There we go. So this is the signal that we're going to use to go into the compressor that we're putting on the white noise. Cool. So then here we have pre-effects, post-effects, and post-mixer. If you put it post-mixer, then that means that it will pay attention to you muting this track and the level of this track. Okay, as you can see, remember, I had the track off. Why? Because I didn't select post-mixer. You know, I just selected on pre-effects. You know, pre-effects really means any effects that you have, by the way. So if you don't select post-mixer, it doesn't matter if you have this on or off, okay? Keep that in mind. I'm going to put it on pre, and I'm going to turn it off. And remember, we're not going to hear it because we send the output to sense only. So there you have it. And now I'm going to play the track. And I'll just play this one here. And you can see the kick. You see that? Every quarter note is going into that sidechain. And we're getting that effect. If I turn that sidechain off, right, even though it's going in, we can turn it off and on here. See that? It's not using the kick to trigger the compressor. Okay, so we're just straight up compressing the white noise. That's all we're doing. We're compressing whatever is on that track. But because we want to use it creatively, we've decided to use a different signal for the sidechain, and that is the kick. We turn it on. And then here you can make it harder or softer by changing the threshold. See that? I could make it really aggressive. And the best way is obviously to listen to it with the music, right? So that is one way to use sidechaining creatively. I mean, I think it's pretty cool. And think about that. You don't just do it with white noise. You can do that with a pad. Like maybe you have a section in a song that sounds kind of boring. It's just one pad playing throughout and you want to make it more interesting. Why not add a compressor to it and use sidechaining on it, right? And maybe create a different melodic idea from it or rhythmic idea from it. Okay, so that is one way that you can do sidechaining creatively. Now let's look at it the way that most mixing engineers would look at it. I guess not most, but you know, ideally you would use it that way. So let's say, for example, you have a kick and you have a bass, and you know, you want to make the bottom end dump and it just sounds so muddy and everything is just kind of messy. Well, the idea is to maybe use sidechain compressing, right? So what we can have, for example, if we have a kick and a bass that are fighting for the same space, well, maybe the kick can be used the same way to compress the bass, right? To calm that bass down so you can hear the bass, but they can live together comfortably, right? Because they're sharing the same frequency space, right? So let's do that. We're going to go to a section of the song here. Let's see where the bass plays and we can work on it. Let's find one that's a little bit, we can just hear those two playing. Okay, so this is one. I'm going to turn off the vocal. And remember, the same thing, we can use the same kick, okay? Let me just check my messages. Thank you. I'm glad that you are enjoying the tutorials. I actually have a fun time teaching them as well. So thank you very much. And you see that that's like my speaking voice there, like my radio voice. Cool, so let's do it. Now we have the kick and the bass, right? So remember, before we wanted to use it creatively on the white noise. So now we want to use it in the bass. So same deal, let's go to the bass track and I'm gonna bring the bass down. Actually, why don't we just move the side kick up? We don't have to move it, but just for me to be able to quickly move between tracks with you guys, it's just easier if I have them next to each other. Okay, and I dumped it inside that drum track, and I don't want to do that. Cool, let's bring it back up, and let's put it right here. Cool, so here we have it. We have the bass and the sidechain kick, and I want to be able to mix my track so the kick and the bass can get along. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a compressor on my bass. Again, you can use the glue compressor or the compressor and drag it directly on the bass track, which I've already done here. Okay, and the same deal. I turned on the sidechain. Remember, if it's closed, open it up. And then I put the input to be the same kick, right? And since I'm not going for that pulsating effect on the bass, pretty much I just want them to get along. I'm not going to be that hard on the threshold. I don't want that pulsating effect, you know, but for a lot of drum and bass and stuff like that, that's a pretty cool effect to have even when you're mixing, I'll be honest. Okay, so now if we turn up the bass, let's turn it up and put everybody together. Okay. See, that's too hard for me. I wouldn't do that. Okay. I want it to get along with the drums, particularly the kick, right? So I'm gonna just solo the kick for us. Okay, and I'm gonna solo the bass again. I want them to get along. And watch what happens when I turn off the sidechain. You guys will hear the difference. And without it. So that's a good way that you would use side chaining when you're mixing. You want to make sure that the bottom end get along, then, you know, use the kick to side chain the bass. And you can use the same track, by the way. In this case, if you wanted to, you can actually take the actual kick track that's here, for example, and send it to not create a separate track like we did for effects. You would actually take this kick track and send it into the side chain of the bass instead of the side chain. Okay, and you guys can know that you can quickly do it just by clicking here. Look, it gives you options. Okay, you see, there goes the kick. So you could have taken the kick and it would have side chained the bass as well. So it's up to you. For now, I'm just going to use a side chain for it. It's fine for me for this example. Now I'm going to show you another cool trick that you can use when you're mixing to kind of make the bass get along. You can use this utility effect, which is pretty cool, right? You know, because obviously, you know, when you're mixing drum and bass, when you're mixing hip hop and you got the 808s and all kinds of bottom end stuff happening, you want to kind of try to make space for everybody to get along, you know. So side chaining is one of the ways you can do that. And another way you can do that is with the utility plugin. The utility plugin is really cool. So if you go here to audio effects and you go right to utility and you drag it right onto that track, and I'm going to just drag it right onto that track. Okay, and you guys can see it here. What you can do is if you have, for example, the bass that's a wide bass and it's kind of, you hear it pretty much the same on your left and your right side. And if you center that bass more in the middle, it gives you more space on your left and your right for your keys, your vocals, and effects like that, right? So that's why it's a cool effect to use. Here, you would just turn on the bass and you would make the bass mono, and then the hertz means from 130 hertz down. So let's say from 0 to 130 hertz, okay, it's gonna be in the middle. Right? So that leaves space for the 808 to kind of fill both of the space, any keys that might have low end. So it's a good way to clean up stuff as well. And you can hear the difference if you have a pair of headphones and you really listen, or nice, you're in the proper environment to listen to as well. If I turn it off, I'm not sure if you can hear it over the internet. Cool, so those are two ways that you can use side chaining. In general, it doesn't matter if you do it in Ableton, Logic, it doesn't matter where you do it, just in general. Now keep in mind that just sidechaining the kick and bass is not the only thing you can do it. You can do it on anything. You can do it on keys, you can hi-hats, you figure it out. You know, as you start to work and you're like, how can I get these things to get along? Now you have a couple of tools and you decide how you want to use them. That is all up to you. Cool, so I'm going to show you guys the last one, which is how to do it in Maschine. Okay, let me make sure I have everybody up here. See, I can also add it to that melody track as well, right? If I wanted to. Cool, so let's do it. I'm going to go into Maschine here, and I'm going to use the plugin version. Standalone is the same thing if you have it, you know, fine. It doesn't matter. So I'm just going to see if my microphone reaches over here. And I'm going to actually open it up so you guys can see it. And hopefully you guys are seeing this because... Okay, fantastic. Cool, so let's open this up. Cool, and let's move it over. Cool. I'm just gonna load up a new group. And I'm gonna go to the browser. Okay, and I'm just gonna let's grab like anything that has a kick on it, okay? So let's grab any. Great, there we go. And now let's create like we did on the other example, just for the sake of things being fast, because I know everybody on the internet wants everything to be fast, you know, so we'll just do step here and we'll play it. Okay, and cool, and let's actually just make it 1 bar long. And then I'm gonna add just a regular, let's just copy that anyways. I'm going to create a new group, and on that group we'll add a sound, just one sound. And we'll go to sounds here, let's add an instrument actually, and yeah, let's use this one. And let's move this out of the way. Cool, and let me go here. And that sounds good. Maschine. And it gives you the options, and you can load up the compressor, and I've already done it so you guys can see it here. Okay, and now I'm going to go into my track here, and if you're using the controller, you can change your pages here into, you find sidechain input on it, okay, which is right here, the first knob on here. And if you're on the software, if you go on the software here, okay, and you go on the inputs and outputs, you'll be able to change the input on it as well. Actually, it's not on there, it's on here. Okay, compressor, sidechain input, and I am using the 909 group B, right? I can do it again here if I wanted to. Okay, so here we go to B, and the sound that we used was the first pad, right? We used this one. And let's get out of here, let's go to pad mode, which is pad number 1 of group B. Okay, and this guy is, there we go. Perfect. Cool, so now we have on that track, the sidechain input is going to be assigned to group B and pad number 1. And you guys can already hear the effect happening, okay, on it. Okay, and if you wanted to obviously change the way how much is pulsating, we know that we can go to that sound and change how the compressor is behaving by changing the threshold of the compressor. Okay, and we'll do that on the first page. And if you are using the software, again, you can do it here. You see the threshold. Okay. Now keep in mind, we don't usually want to hear the sidechain when we're using it in a creative way. So you would have to then take that kick and make sure that that kick is turned off, that you no longer hear it, or you assign the output to something else. But one little trick there, if you turn it off and you try to use it again on another sound, it won't allow you to do that because it has been assigned a different output. And what I mean by that, if I go to this sound right here, okay, and let's go here actually, okay, and we assign the output of this somewhere else, here output, let's say to none, right? It will still compress what I'm having there, but if I try to use it on another sound to use it as a sidechain, it won't allow me to do that. So make sure that you make all your moves before, all your sidechaining routing before you actually turn it off, so you won't hear it in the overall mix. But that's pretty much all for today. Sidechaining. That was Maschine, sidechaining in Maschine, and the first one was sidechaining in Ableton for mixing and using it creatively. The way we just showed it in Maschine was creatively, but it's the same technique. If you go back and you look at the Ableton, you'll see that instead of making it pulsate so much or having such a strong threshold, you calm it down a little bit and you can use it for mixing purposes. And they do not always have to be the kick, the bass, or a synth. It could be anything that you want to have that effect on, okay? I hope that helps. Again, I'm a new channel, and I wish you guys all a lovely holiday season. My name is Josie Carr. Thank you for stopping by Planet1wp. Ciao.